The Baku GP has shown yet again that Verstappen needs to be very careful about how he approaches the championship fight with his teammate Perez, and the team made sure to remind him yet again of this likely scenario. With 2 wins out of 4 venues in 2023, Perez is only 6 points behind Verstappen, and anything can happen in between the courses of the season, something that the team is very afraid of and something that the fans of the sport are eagerly waiting to see in the season that's threatening to be monotonous. That's why Red Bull has spoken about this issue with Verstappen, and it seems like trouble in paradise is present yet again. Ever since the 2023 season started, Red Bull has bragged about one thing: bringing a car that suits both Verstappen and Perez equally. Unlike in 2022, when Verstappen was more comfortable with the upgrades that were brought to the RB18, this time it seems like Perez has finally been granted what he's been wishing for the past couple of years: a more stable car that he could utilize perfectly. And in the 2 wins he's been able to achieve in 2022, he has held Verstappen's attacks off and proved that he can be competitive in a fair and square battle with his teammate. Furthermore, Perez was asked about what his goal is for the 2023 season and what he needs to do in order to beat Verstappen in the same car, as the Mexican has provided a bit of a stressful update to the team when team orders time comes along. When talking about this matter, the Mexican said, "I'm here to be a champion, that is my objective. Maintaining a good relationship with the team is important, but there will be a moment when I'm thinking about me. Be perfect. Against him, I can't leave anything on the table. Max always maximizes the car's potential, so if I got to 99.99%, it won't be enough. For me, this season is a great opportunity, and I face it like this: I feel closer than ever. Every year is 1 year less in my career. I keep in my mind that I'm closer to the end of my career than to the beginning." And what did Perez do in Baku? Sent it all the way to the checkered flag, with Verstappen nowhere near as close to his teammate. While the difference in Jeddah was around 3 seconds, in Baku Perez was able to maintain it at around 5 seconds, meaning that he found even more pace out of the RB19, while Verstappen was trying out different setups in his car and was struggling with the balance of the 2023's Challenger. Nonetheless, the safety car helped Perez a bit, but Helmut Marko thinks that even without it, Verstappen wouldn't have gotten the win in Baku because, for some reason, Perez is a different animal on street circuits. But what Marko said furthermore about the championship battle between Perez and Verstappen only goes to show that even Red Bull believes Perez has the capacity to challenge the Dutchman for the prestigious title. As Marko warned Verstappen that nothing is the same now that Perez has all the motivation in the world. When talking about it, the senior advisor said, "Verstappen was unlucky with the safety car, yes, but Sergio on a street circuit, he has the most podiums here. Don't underestimate Sergio. He changed a lot since he came to us. He started working. Last year, he was looking at how many races were won by the Rodriguez brothers. He is the most successful driver from Mexico now, and they have a long history and good drivers. It was a very decent present and a proper one, not the 9th or 10th cake I got." It's one thing to have Perez winning street circuits, which are a handful of tracks in the 2023 calendar, but a whole other thing to have him challenging Verstappen for the championship fight. All in all, Perez is able to extract more potential out of the car when the track requirements are more stabler, while the traditional track circuits tend to be more aggressive on the car, and that suits Verstappen much more. So, even though I'm very eager to see an intra-team battle between both Red Bull teammates, one thing stands out as it is: Perez needs to prove himself on a traditional circuit. He's been the king of the street circuits for quite some time, with the 33-year-old becoming the first driver to win the Baku GP multiple times and has the most podiums on street circuits overall. However, there comes a time when you need to navigate the car in a more aggressive manner, something that Verstappen has been doing for quite some time now, and something that makes him the championship leader instead of Perez. Nonetheless, the RB19 is definitely giving Perez a lot of positive vibes that he can just go out there and fully send it, as we've seen his miraculous recovery from P20 to P5 in Australia. Yes, he did struggle a lot to get past the McLaren of Norris, and that wasn't the case with Verstappen in Jeddah, with the Dutchman jumping from P15 to P2 in just 25 laps, but it was definitely a promising drive from the veteran and one that shows what cloth he's made of. Furthermore, Red Bull provided a solid update about whether or not the drivers will be free to race once things get hairy between them, and so far in 2023 they've been let off the leash and no team orders came at any side. Sure, Verstappen was told to not push for the fastest lap in Jeddah, but we all know what happens once he hears something that he doesn't want to do. Marko spoke about what he thinks about the ongoing battle between Perez and Verstappen, and while he hailed the performance of the veteran and the progress he's been making with Red Bull, he also said that Verstappen is the one that has the upper edge and is the more consistent driver, as he added. There, in Miami, I see Max in front again. In qualifying as in Baku, Leclerc could be fast, but the race should be ours again. And I'm sticking to my guns. Over the season, Max Verstappen is the man, he's the more consistent one. In Baku, they both fought for the fastest lap until the end. As long as everything stays within reasonable bounds, we won't intervene. You don't have to worry about the atmosphere in the team, it's fine. Perez woke up in Azerbaijan and Max is really stepping on the gas. But I'm relaxed about it. As long as we are superior, such a team internal fight is good for everyone. Now, you might think that it's good for the team to have two very competitive drivers between each other, but that is by far the last thing that a team wants to deal with in a season in which they don't seem to have any other competitors but themselves. Throughout the course of the previous 2 seasons, Perez was always present for Verstappen and has often sacrificed his race just to help the Dutchman in the championship bid. But when Verstappen was told to get out of the way of Perez just once, he denied it and has presented the harsh reality to Perez. You will not receive anything from me. That has switched a trigger in Perez, in which he has confirmed that when the team asks something from him in terms of helping Verstappen, he will most likely not obey and will do what he does best, defend his position. This happened in 2016 at Mercedes, and while they were the most dominant team and had literally no competition whatsoever, it resulted in a massive shakeup in the team and ruined chemistry all over the board. Does Red Bull want that before the new era begins in 2026? Definitely not. And we must not forget that the other teams are also trying their best to catch up with the Austrian squad, with Ferrari bringing upgrades to Miami and Mercedes eagerly waiting out the new design in Imola. As the season goes on, Red Bull's rivals will start to harvest the fruits of the increased time in the aerodynamic facilities, a place in which Red Bull has mastered the design of the RB19 and the RB18, and the only place in which the dominance of Red Bull is by far the greatest compared to everyone else on the grid. All of this goes to promise one thing. Red Bull, although the most dominant team on the grid, is not going to enjoy this prestigious title for long if they keep competing against each other as Rosberg and Hamilton did back in 2016. With Ferrari and Mercedes bringing promising upgrades to their respective cars sooner rather than later, and with the chemistry in Red Bull not being at its best level, there is a high possibility that Red Bull will do something they haven't done for quite some time: ruin their own season thanks to the massive competitiveness between the drivers.